channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head off to a castle in Romania. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, great, would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about the movie The Nun, part of the Conjuring universe. We're getting a sequel in the beginning of this September. And I wouldn't mind going to see it, so I figure I better watch the original because I've never checked this one out. So we're going to talk about that one. Before we get into it, though, if you're interested in this film, in the Blu-ray or the 4K, I'm going to put a link down below in the description to Amazon. We got an Amazon account, so if you click on it, doesn't cost anything to you. It helps out with the channel. So if you're interested, you'll find that in the description. Also in the description, I opened up a TeePublic store where I have different designs of t-shirts on there. Follow that link, check it out, and if you're interested, cool. If not, that's fine as well. And now we're going to get into The Nun. The Nun came out September 7th of 2018. It's rated R. It's an hour and 36 minutes long, and it had a budget of $22 million. And upon release that year, it made 117 in America and 365 worldwide to be one of the most successful films of the Conjuring universe. This film was directed by Corin Hardy, and in this film we got Damien Bashir as Father Burke. We got Tessa Farmiga as Sister Irene. She has not taken her vows yet to become a full nun yet, but she's on her way. And we also see scenes with Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren and Vera Farmiga as Lorraine Warren. They start the film and they end the film. There's like bookends with them to connect us to the Conjuring universe. And basically we're in 1952 and something's going on at this Catholic castle or big abbey that they have. This nun, right at the beginning of the film, we see her being chased by something, the nun, and she decides to kill herself by hanging herself out the window because she was afraid the nun was going to inhabit her body and use it to leave that place because the nun is contained to this abbey or whatever, castle. And so Sister Irene and Father Burke are sent out there by the church to see what's going on because Father Burke's an investigator for the church. And they go, and, you know, it's a big castle, Gothic-looking castle with a cemetery outside, very creepy. This film is definitely shot as definitely a Gothic type of horror film for sure, and that's one of my positives about the way it's shot. I think this film is nicely handled in the way it looks anyway. And pretty soon they realize there's a demon afoot, and they get messed with left and right. They see horrific images, and at the end of the film, they dispatch of Valak the nun, and they make it out of the castle. And then we have that bookend with the Warrens, and then the movie's over. And that's pretty much The Nun. Now, I went through that pretty quick, and there's a reason for that. But let's get into the legs. I like the Gothic look at the film, the cinematography, the camera angles. I think it's pretty well shot here by Corin Hardy and the cinematographer. There are some suspenseful moments, but we'll get into that in a second. And the acting's pretty good here, okay? It's definitely a popcorn horror film, and I'll explain myself more in just a few moments. Some of the bad is the story is pretty much non-existent. It's very incoherent of what the hell is actually going on or what the point of all this is. It's almost like this movie went into production without a fully fleshed out script. Honestly, as I sat there watching it, I'm like, did I miss something? Like, some of this doesn't make much sense to me. It didn't want to stick to any certain rules or anything. Like, I don't know. It's very strange, this film, for sure. Instead of building suspense, like I did say, there was a few suspenseful moments, and they do generate some suspenseful moments. But this movie is heavily reliant on loud sounds, the camera panning one way, a character looking one way, and then the camera pans back at the character, and there's somebody standing behind him. It does that time and time and time again. Once or twice, okay, but when you do it multiple upon multiple times, it kind of gets a little redundant and a little boring at that point. And this film really overplays that a lot. And plus a lot of loud sounds as well to generate a jump scare. They do that quite a bit, and it gets boring after a while. Unfortunately, this film was more interested in just like throwing all the effects at us instead of actually genuinely building suspense here, like James Wan did with the first Conjuring. Here they just went nuts with loud sounds, loud music, and effects, and it just kind of, by the end of the film, it just became a little bit like, okay, I've seen this before. Now, I didn't hate this film. It was a perfectly easy watch. It's only an hour and 36 minutes long, but there's not much of a story here. I mean, the characters are fine. At the end of the day, this isn't a great film. It's okay. You can watch it. It's okay. But it's definitely not it's nowhere near as good as Conjuring 1 and 2. And 2 is what this came out of. The Nun was in The Conjuring 2. And that's why they made this film. It was a popular character, so they decided to make it into its own film, and this is what we got. But they should have spent a little bit more time on the script, because the script definitely was lacking severely. But, it's okay. You can have a fun enough time with it in October at night, having a couple beers with your friends, and you could have a good enough time with it. But it's not great. Some trivia. The film story, the first 2 Conjuring films were supposedly based on true events of the Warrens from their case files. This one was entirely made up because the character of the nun was so popular after the release of The Conjuring 2. And the Jesus Christ, the way they beat Valak, or the nun in this film, is Sister Irene keeps the blood. There's this thing in the church, this artifact that has the blood of Jesus Christ in it, and she puts it in her mouth and spits it on the demon's face. And if you're a horror fan, you know that's right out of Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. That's how Jada Pinkett Smith's character defeats Billy Zane's character, the demon, in Demon Knight. So I don't know if they were ripping it off or they were just using it, but it's not lost on me where that came from. At the end of the day, this is just an okay popcorn horror film. It's not great. It's okay. You can have some marginally good time with it. Again, I like the look of it, but they use that pan and back and jump scares with loud music way too many times. It's like, that's why I avoided this film, because the Conjuring universe, they came out with so many movies, I was like, I don't need to see another one. I am going to go see the sequel, though. That's why I wanted to review it. So at the end of the day, I would give The Nun a 6 out of 10. It's perfectly serviceable to sit down, turn your brain off, and just watch it. It doesn't require you to think all that much, because there's not much of a story here to think about. 6 out of 10 for The Nun. Have you ever seen this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back later in the week with a review for Swamp Thing. And then we're going to do Wes Craven's Cursed. So some cool stuff coming up. So come on back and join me here. But until next time, bye.